Okay, so you can do this with a scanned-in image, something you've grabbed off of the internet, portraits, animals, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and bring in an image that I did in the sketchbook and place it in here and then get it ready for vectorizing. Um, but don't think that you have to do this just with like pop culture type art. Um, you can use this method and get your main roadmap features in for like a portrait of Marilyn Monroe. Cut the eyes, the nose holes. Sorry about that. The major outline of her jaw and her ears, and a few roadmaps that you need to be in there, and then spray those, peel them off, and then freehand in the whole other. Um, for portraits and stuff like that, it's kind of a waste of vinyl because you can use the paper cut method to get your roadmap. Um, and but not all of us have a wide format type printer that can print on larger sheets of paper. So if you're looking for a really large one, sometimes it's just bite the bullet, use your vinyl, uh, and go in. Um, Other ways to do it would be a projector and all that. But this is Adobe Illustrator for the Airbrush artist. So we're going to go place, and I drew a pretty cool little gearhead type skull with pistons here. Now this time I'm going to show you. Click and drag, and wherever that little box is going to be the size of your image. Bam. Now it is in. You can see it's just a sketch. For this demo, I am just going to trace the outline of the skull here. I would use the tools in this Pathfinder and Shapes to do these machined pistons, so I could get a more, like I said, more machine look to those. If you look close, my drawing is a little off in places, but it was just a concept drawing for a project. So yeah, once you have this placed in, come over to your layers panel, and you can double click anywhere in the little color field and it'll bring up this layers option. Click on the template part, and what that's going to do is it's going to automatically lock this layer so you can't accidentally draw on it, or manipulate it or move it. And when you're tracing it, moving it is not a good thing at all. You can control Z if you did accidentally move it, but you generally don't want to move it because then it might get your image out of true. And then it's also going to dim it to 50%. I kind of like to run a little lower on some of mine, and since this one's pretty dark, I'm going to go ahead and change that to 25. Let me click OK. And now you can see it dimmed it so I can see what I'm doing. And if you look at my little pencil thing, it's got the little circle slash mark. I can't do anything to it. So you have to create a new layer. Now I can do stuff. Now your pen tool here, like I said, it is going to be your worst enemy for a short period of time until you get used to how it works. But I'll show you a couple of things that kind of help. I like to start on some place that's a little bit rounder. Some people like to start in spots that are like a point. I find when I come in and I try and adjust this and I grab that handle, it tries to adjust both sides. So if I do it on a round spot, then when I adjust the handles, it's adjusting both sides to fit a little bit better. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to click. Now if I click and hold, it pulls out handles already, and you could do that if you want, but I am just going to click, and that starts. Now I've got that little tail anywhere I pull, and when I click again, it's going to put another node. I can continue putting nodes around this guy, but I'm just going to kind of click out somewhere on that line, and I'm going to hold. And now when I hold, it starts dragging out these handles and gives me a curved tool. Now, while tracing and stuff like this little handle, you don't want to go too far, but kind of pull it out. And if you put that handle on where you're going to click next, or pretty close to falling, and I don't like where it's falling, so I'm going to bring that back by holding spacebar. Now I can move where my node was. There we go. Now, and you can see, boom, put that in there. Now I just leave it there and I click again and drag out. And I just keep doing that all the way around. Now this one I'm going to pull a bit farther. Pull in. Now here I want to do an abrupt change in angle, and there's two ways I can do that. One is while still holding the mouse, I can click the Alt key, and now I have control over that tail only, and I can pull it around. Or I can let it go, push Alt, and it'll bring up that little kind of carrot triangle, and that'll remove that second handle. Now I can just get a good solid angle on it. And you just keep tracing. Now this doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You want to keep it as close as you can to your drawing, but it doesn't have to be 100%. Only as accurate as you want your drawing template to be. You can always come back and adjust it later. Now I've got this little tail going in, but I don't want it to continue there anymore, so I'm just going to push Alt and click anywhere. Now I'll have to start again. One thing I did notice is this guy in here. I'll zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. Is doing a funky little back thing, and I don't like it. So I click on that node, and up here you can manipulate your nodes. You can delete the node. If you use the scissors, it makes this path and this path two separate paths, and you can move them individually from there. They will appear to be one on the screen until you move it away, though. But the one we're wanting is this little convert select anchor points to a corner. See, now it's just a corner, but then I can convert it back to a curve. And a lot of times it'll just kind of put that kind of curve in it to begin with. But that can get rid of some weird, if I didn't like that node at all, I'd just get rid of it like that, and I actually like that better. So, go back out, grab my pen tool again, and start. And even though I went in here, that was just to kind of give that line a one solid line, so when the cutter comes in it goes that way, and then it will pick up and go to another spot. I'm mainly going to work on just the outline. Now I don't want to minus this node. If you notice when I hover over that to connect in, it gives me the minus sign. So I'm going to push shift, and then it gives me that little asterisk. Now I've just tapped into that line instead of deleting that node. And then just keep kind of pulling around, and as you get more practice with this pen tool, you'll get a better feel for it. But generally, drag your handle out to where it's still on the path you're wanting, and that's kind of how your thing will follow. Like this side, I didn't want to continue on around there because I want to grab from here, come down around, and give me that solid, so it cuts this all in one. I've noticed that a lot of times, even though you did a solid line through here, there's remnants in the file, and sometimes it will pick the blade up there and put it back down to continue. Same with down here if I went all the way around. It's not a super big deal, but on some real tight, fine areas, it can cause issues. So again, I'm getting a little minus node. I just want to hold shift and click on it and bring it out. And bring it out. And this time, instead of clicking Alt, I'm going to hold Alt, pull it around, and just let that anchor move. you will spend a lot of time doing this. Click in there, and it goes to clicking around. So I'm going to hit Control Z, and I'm going to bypass that one little node there. Like that. Alt. And I'm going to zoom way in on that, and I can see that I didn't get it to touch, but I'll just move that up to intersect that right there. Go back out. Now I have the outline of my skull. A couple things you could do at this point. You could select that, push Alt, and drag it over here, and now you have a copy of it. If the particular image you're wanting to paint or background or whatever needs just kind of a full solid back mask, you have that. You can trim these lines off to where it fits in just perfect. If you don't need a solid masking or back masking for it, you don't have to do that. But a lot of times it's a good idea to have an outline of your image in case you need to back mask the whole thing and paint more. I try not to do the back masking too much because you always end up with just being a little off and it doesn't quite register and you got to do touch-ups to fix it. But there are times when that is not an option because the color you're painting on or other parameters. And so once you get your outline, make a copy of it. You don't have to cut it when you go to cutting, but it's a good idea to have an outline. Then we just come in here and work the details. Again, I'm not being exactly dead on to my sketch because it was a concept sketch. I want it close. If you want it dead on, you can zoom in and follow your paths a lot more precise. Holding Shift. And that kind of come in. Press Alt and click anywhere. I'll go ahead and zoom in on his nose. Zoom out just a little. Alt click. Alt click. Whenever you have a tool like the zoom tool, you notice right now it says zoom. If you press Alt, it's zoom out now, and I'm just clicking to zoom out because I accidentally zoomed in too far. There we go. Now, get my pen tool. Now I can be a lot more precise with being zoomed in like this. I don't think this is necessary unless you feel you want that super preciseness. Sometimes for doing teeth and stuff, this can be handy. But I think it is a bit much for what we're trying to do. But now I come in and I push Shift so I can grab this and I'll come in and put that little nasal cavity bone in there. Alt Shift, and if you double click on your hand tool, it brings you back out to full view. There we go. Now we've got the nose. Now we just need the jaw and the teeth. Excuse me there. The jaw. I want to zoom back out a little bit farther. I don't want to be quite that zoomed in. I don't know why that one's not working on this image. Sometimes you can come up here and click the Use GPU, and what that allows you to do is instead of pulling the little marquee like this to zoom in, or it just, you click and hold, and move left to zoom out, right to zoom in. I like that feature better. I've messed up a setting by hitting something on my hotkeys, and I got to go fix that. But we're just going to come in and do a general outline of the jaw, incorporating the lower gum line. Now on these little spots like that, you can see I'm just pulling the handle around by holding Alt, click, hold, drag out, hold Alt, pull around. Occasionally I don't want there to be a point there, so I'll come over here and then I pull down, and it gives me a nice little rounded point there. Just get practiced with the pen tool. You won't always have these nice, crisp, clear lines that you can try and use the other trace features with. So you will need to learn how to use this tool eventually. Okay. And Alt, boom. Then come in, Shift, and do the same for the upper gum line. Now, a lot of people are always asking me why I do skulls so much. Well, I'm in the custom automotive and bike industry, and when you're painting bikes, skulls and demons and angels and pin-up girls are going to be your bread and butter. When I met the late Mike LaValle, he told the story being interviewed or talked to by somebody once, and they asked him, do you ever get tired of painting flames and skulls? Because it seemed like that's all he was ever painting. And he just calmly replied to them, do you ever get tired of painting $100 bills or counting $100 bills? It's true. You want to paint what you like. My passion is fantasy art like dragons and stuff, but ever since 7th grade, once people found out I could draw, they wanted me to draw skulls. So if you're going to be a professional commercial artist, you have to be willing to paint what your customers want. Now for the teeth, I start in the center here and just kind of drag out little lines. Starting on the gum line, because these should go up into the gum line a little bit. Starting in the center, because as you wrap around, these teeth become behind. This is not a flat bridge across here. These teeth are closer. It's a U shape. So we'll start that now. I don't really like where that was placed. So. Click in there. There. Alt. Anytime you want to end a path, but it's still giving you a little trail, just hit the Alt key and click anywhere. You don't have to have a lot of detail in. It's just a roadmap to give you some edges. You're still going to use a lot of freehand techniques on these panels. You're just wanting to get a roadmap in. Now technically this and this should have been out one. if you are going for a realistic skull. But remember, this is art. There's no such thing as a mistake, especially if it's fantasy art. Sudden design change or stylizing. And for the lower jaw, rows of teeth. A lot of the times you'll just come in and connect them in with the tooth above it because they are a lot of the times behind the upper jaw. And another thing to keep in mind, even though you see these thick lines here, oh, excuse me, you see these thick lines here, the plotter's not that thick. You can select all with your regular tool, and as you see it's got 2 point. I actually like to keep that about 0.5 or even 0.25. And that helps you see what's going on in here a lot easier. You'll notice that I'll have to go in and kind of clean these up a little bit because I was working at that higher path size. But it's not a big deal. It's just a time thing, and I should have done that from the get-go, but I got distracted with just tracing. Try not to do too many perfectly straight lines on the teeth because they're curved. But some of these areas back here in the back, literally just snap a line in there. But now where I was in a hurry, not doing things right, I just come in and move the nodes a little bit, make them line up a little better. Oop, wrong one. Just zoom in and grab the right one there. There we go. Back out. Zoom in a little bit closer for the last bits of these teeth here. Grab my pen tool again. Now if you notice, I'm not wanting to just come pull right into the tops of these. I want to kind of come in just a little. That will give me a little bit more character of the gum line and stuff in there. Sometimes you want to go on the other side of it because that gum will be in front of the tooth. But depending upon the size of your image, a lot of that won't even be noticeable because it's so small in there. Like if this was going on a motorcycle tank, this whole skull image would be maybe 5 inches tall. So this is all just getting you a roadmap template so you don't have to freehand the entire image from scratch on your customer's project. Okay, now over here on your layers, you got your eyeball, and that literally just makes the layers visible or invisible. And we now have that skull traced out. Like I said, the rest of the image I would just use, like for this up here, I would just come grab the rectangle tool, pull out a rectangle, rotate it into place. We're going to just make it a black square for now, so oops. Control Z, grab it. Size it. And then grab that individual, put a little bit of a handle on it. Put a little bit of a handle on it. That one, shift. This one, shift. And now I've got the top of a piston. We just shrink these handles down. Go back to outline, and you can see it's pretty close to being that. And I would just, similar to how we did that revolver, I would just build that out of shapes and Pathfinder. And then once I had the one done, I would mirror it to get the second one, and then cut the pieces that I didn't want out. Again, you could go into your Pathfinder, divide the entire image, so all the little intersection stuff like that become their own individual spots, and then delete the ones. But if you do have the astute graphics, it becomes as simple as grab the freehand dynamic sketch tool, push shift, drag across, and now it's cut out and perfectly sized in there. Quite a handy tool, but you do have to pay for it.